What we're going to do today is take this knot out of this handle. It is glued in there either with silicone or something stronger like epoxy. This method has worked well for both cases. For me, with other knots. Fortunately, with this tuxedo knot here, it's synthetic. I do not care if it lives or dies. This knot doesn't work for me, and so all I care about is the handle. So here's my technique that I've used on a few brushes, and it's been successful thus far. I have made some mistakes, but I've adapted my method to learn from those. What we'll need is a big pot with a little bit of water in it. I just put, you're going to be putting your brush down in a container kind of like this inside the water. When I did that, because the water is near boiling, it rattled and rolled, and it wasn't going to be a good system. And I discovered that's because I had too much water in there. The bowl there had a little bit too much buoyancy. It was still heavy enough to touch the bottom, but only just. And so the bubbles from the boiling process caused a problem. So I reduced the water, and so I believe I'm going to be fine. So that is something to watch out for. It looks like here I've got maybe 3/4 deep of an inch of water. Okay, now this one does have a coin in the bottom of it, and it's the plastic acrylic type handle. So hopefully the coin will be fine. We'll see. We will need something to handle the brush when it comes out, to be able to pull and try to extract the knot from the handle. The general idea here is we're going to have it in there for 5 minutes, and then we're going to pull it out and try to pull the knot out. If we have no success, we'll put it in there for maybe another 3 minutes. Pull it out, see if we have success, and anyway, repeat the 3-minute cycle. You don't want to go too far or you can risk damage. So I'd like to do it in smaller increments so that when it does finally work, I have exposed the brush to as little heat as possible. All right, so, and another trick is, the brush is going to be sitting down, in a container like that. I believe that in one of my early attempts, the heat from the bottom of the pot came and it touched the vessel, the bowl that it was in, and it directly transferred up into the handle, because the handle, of course, was sitting in the bowl. And so how I adapted my technique, this is a clothespin that I broke the ends off of so that it would fit in this type of container here. And this is going to insulate the bottom of the handle so that the brush rests on the wood and therefore doesn't contact the bottom of the glass container that it's in. So now we've got steam going, okay, and our water level's fairly low. We don't have to worry about it overflowing into the container. We don't want that. And so now I'm going to cover it up. And my clock here is at 9:05. So in 5 minutes, we'll come back. All right, it's been 5 minutes. As always, we're dealing with boiling water and steam, so observe the right safety precautions. If you can't handle that, then don't try this. All right, so there we go. The brush is kind of misty on the handle, and I am going to just pick it up out of there with the gloves on and then try to pull and twist the knot out of the handle. All right, the attempt didn't work, and I put it back in the pot, sealed it up, and so we'll come back in about 3 or 4 minutes and try again. I had set the timer for about 3.5 minutes or so, and tried it again just now. It didn't work, so we'll set it for another 3 minutes, come back again. All right, I just tried it again, and it was still rock solid. So it looks like we have been on the heat for about 17 minutes, just to kind of FYI you on that. It's really solid. We're basically waiting for that steam to get down into the core there of the brush, of the knot, to soften that silicone or epoxy up, and that's what we just have to be patient with. I'm still generating steam in there, a nice water vapor, so just should be a matter of time. All right, at 20 minutes in the steam, the knot came out, and it came out pretty easy. I pulled it out. Notice how we have damaged the little glue ball there a little bit. Let's see if we can get the focus going here. Sorry. There we go. We have damaged it a little bit, but like I said, I don't care about this knot. I think it's still kind of usable, but only if you just really, I mean, these things are cheap anyway, so it's probably better just to buy another one. And so I wouldn't try it with this kind of knot unless you didn't really care about the knot and were prepared to lose it. But here is and I need to be careful, it's still pretty warm. Looks like the coin held up just fine. There's a gorgeous handle, so obviously that's why I wanted to keep it and put my own knot in it. And here's the remnants of what was inside there. And yeah. So either I can scrape at that, or I can get my Dremel tool out, and then, you know, work and clean it up to get it ready for the gluing in the new knot. And I use silicone to adhere the new knot, and then it can be easily removed later, much easier than epoxy. And it really has kind of permanent qualities. It can last a couple years. And at that point, if it does pop out, then big deal. I'll just go buy another cheap tube of silicone and re-adhere it back in there. And that way I can always change knots pretty easy if I want to. So there we go. That is how I prefer to remove knots from handles via the steam method. I have done this with badgers with good success. I did fail one time with a badger. I ruined the tips on my silver tip badger, and that was because I had it in the heat too long. I waited too long, which is why I reduced my intervals to about 3 minutes so that I could catch it quicker, get it out of the heat as quickly as possible, to just in case I do have a knot that I want to try to preserve. So there we go. I hope it helps some people out. Take care. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here with an addendum. I went ahead and removed that little strip that you saw of the root ball material. And I thought it was important to jump in here as a postscript and say that while that is warm and soft, that is the best time to go in and get that, because I was able to grab the end of it with a pair of needle nose pliers and gently pull it out, and it came out really nicely without the need for, you know, chisels and Dremel bits and things like that. Now I am going to, you know, try to buff up and correct that the base there, and so it'll be good. But I wanted to mention that while it's soft and pliable, that's a great time to try to get it up instead of letting it get hard and brittle. Also, I thought it was important to come in and say that I said that this could be salvaged and used, and you know, maybe it could if you wanted to create an epoxy, put epoxy around it to lock everything in. But if you just glued this via the bottom, via silicone or whatever, into a thing, then these hairs would just start shedding like crazy, and I don't think it would ever stop. So yeah, I wanted to rescind my advice that you could use it if you wanted to. I mean, you could, but I think it would require some maintenance on this knot ball here to try to surround that with some good glue, and then it might be able to work. But like I said, these knots are just relatively cheap. And in case I didn't mention it, the act of pulling does disfigure the knot a little bit. See, it's not quite the same knot anymore. And that's okay. I think it would be just as functional as it was. But when it was dry, it just wouldn't be as pretty. Because it's synthetic, I believe what happened was the heat melted the fibers a little bit, and the pulling action then reshaped them. And so that's another reason why you know, it's good not to want to preserve this kind of knot when you choose to extract it via this method. So there you go. and maybe this is bye for real this time. Take care.